Coastal here. Today we're taking out the P-51H. We've got a clan member with us, and we've got a clan member on the enemy team. That he wishes he was flighted up, huh? So what is the P-51H? Well, it's Tier 8 American fighter, right? So it has a lot going for it, and I think it's really underutilized or underloved. I can care less. If it's loved, that's your own fault for not loving such an awesome plane. But I think it's kind of it's not seen as a strong plane or as one of the better planes at Tier 8. Why do I think it's one of the better planes at Tier 8? Well, I'm going to say it's one of the better planes at Tier 8 because of its altitude performance. Because of its airspeed, excuse me, and because of its maneuverability. Believe it or not, it actually has pretty darn good maneuverability. Better than the ME-209A, which isn't saying a whole lot, but it's saying that it's not the least maneuverable altitude fighter at this level. Yes. Its gun setup isn't really the best for necessarily dogfighting, but there is some perks to it. Having that wide spread means you're gonna do damage no matter what. It's actually really good against planes like this that are kind of pudgy and don't have the ability to turn. So heavy fighters for sure, bombers for sure, ground attackers a little bit less so, just because the rear gunners can sometimes be pains in the butts. It is frustrating that the planes excuse me, planes' guns are on the wings. It allows for it means that there's definitely some issues when it comes to hitting targets like that. But it's got its perks as well. The ME-209 that my friend Dr. Payne is in is probably the better in everyday situations than the P-51H, just because that 30mm cannon is so good on it. But I still would say that there's definitely good times to be had with the P-51H. Its ability to go from the floor to the ceiling, it's pretty ridiculous. It can do that very, very quickly. Quicker than a lot of even the jet planes out there. Yeah, it might not have the boost speed that a P-80A would have, but it's still going to, its airframe is still going to allow for more flexibility than a P-81A would have. P-80A, excuse me. And one of those things, one of those reasons is the altitude performance, believe it or not. So think of it this way. Remember, with altitude performance comes a loss in airspeed and maneuverability. So if your maneuverability is already better than a P-80A, for instance, and you both get up to 8,000 feet where you're still in white altitude performance and a P-80A is now in yellow altitude performance, your maneuverability is going to be even better, right? And so, like, altitude performance is one of those things that people tend to think, okay, you know, it's good to go after the bombers and go after the heavy aircraft and all that, but it still impacts your maneuverability. You gotta think of it in those terms as well. Dude, you're taking away my freaking, my defensive kills here. I don't think he knows that. It's not like I told him. Now, if I was smart, I'd set these guns up to set more fires. That is one thing that people don't really think about, is the fact that fires do damage too, right? So much like destroyers in World of Warships, it's not really the overall firepower that's ow, you jerk. That's doing the damage. It's the fires that you're setting that can do a whole heck of a lot of damage. The same is true for 50 cal machine guns like this. If you have it properly set. Notice I got up to 538 miles an hour, so a decent chunk of speed there. And I can keep this plane pretty often in 450 mile an hour range. Oh shoot, there's rockets. I don't know how I survived that, to be honest. Other than he started spinning a little bit early. Speaking of fires, will you die? Excellent. I'd like to think I can get my hit points back at some point. Let's go ahead and right now, so we're not pushing to get anything here. We're just we are literally just defending this sector because I don't want to get air supremacy. It's not gonna help personal points. It's not gonna help my missions. It's not gonna help any of that shenanigans. So rather than trying to help those shenanigans, let's just kill and defend. You know, my man, you're not helping me get these defensive kills, are you? Not helping at all.
I'm proud of you, pilots.
But we were able to get an Akamatsu. We got a Guardian out of it, so we were at least doing our job there. Got a Raptor Duo as well. And which one's this? Flying Guardian badge, right? Yep. Let's head on back. Alright, so we were able to get 12 kills there. 8 while defending, which again was my mission that I'm on right now for the B-29C. And really good teamwork with Dr. Payne there. I think we were probably, we were obviously overlapping each other quite a bit. We were making life a living hell for our FK clanmate here. Actually, shoot, I didn't realize they were both FKs. That's pretty funny. So this is actually something Dr. Payne and I were just talking about. This is a side note, and we'll get right back to the P-51H in just a second. But flights are overpowered. Why are they overpowered? Well, because you and your flight mate, if you are both on the same page, are going to be able to do a hell of a lot more volume of damage combined than if you were separate. This is a prime example. We actually had 2 clanmates on the enemy team, but they weren't working together. They didn't have a set plan beforehand, and even if they had a plan and they picked it up in the middle of the game, it's not quite in sync, right? Whereas Dr. Payne and I knew what we were going to be doing once the game started, and we just went out there and we handled our business. So anyway, flights in World of Warplanes, they're really good for that. Obviously, they're just better for wins, but on top of that, they're also better if you're trying to learn the game, if you're trying to learn aspects of the game. Flight up with somebody. And I mean that. Like, if you've got friends in the game, flight up with them. Even if it's just, hey, I'm going to be playing 2 or 3 games, do you got time to flight up with me? If you see me in game, you reach out to me. If I've got time, I'll play. There's no harm in asking, right? And so my recommendation is do something what I did similarly when I first started playing the game. In the low tiers, I would reach out to the people that would get 14,000 personal points, and I'd be like, hey, I'm new to the game. You got any tips for me? There's actually tips I've learned from people doing that when I first started playing the game that I still use to this day. Don't have your horse blinders on. Make sure you're not just focused on the plane in front of you. Pay attention to the other planes in the game because they will hurt your face. And so do that. Reach out to people. If they respond, they respond. If they don't, they won't. And don't worry about it. You move on. But you reach out to those people, friend the ones that are not assholes, and you move on with your life. Maybe they'll flight up with you at a later time. Maybe they won't, but there's still a chance. And two of you working together is certainly going to go further than not. Maybe, again, you'll get some tips and things of that nature. And then you can pay it forward when you've played 1,000 games and you run into a new player at Tier 3 or Tier 4, and you can pass that information along, right? So that's my little rant on flights and why they're super important and why you want to do them. So what is the P-51H? I've got mine specialized. I've got mine with ultimate equipment. Although I haven't maxed out the ultimate equipment, it's still ultimate equipment. I have a 9-point pilot. I like this plane. I like the way it looks. It's one of those planes, there's a handful of planes, like, if I could, like, trip up on myself in life and somehow get a plane, this would be one of the planes I would want. It's just, it's beautiful. And in-game, it's very high-performing. I have all but one of the Tier 8 Tech Tree Tier 8 fighters. Don't have the I-250 anymore. It's the other altitude fighter, and it's meh. The cream of the crop when it comes to the Tech Tree altitude fighters is going to be the ME-209A and the P-51H. The biggest difference between these is the ME is going to be slightly slower. The maneuverability is basically on par with each other. The altitude performance is basically on par with each other, although the 209 says it's higher. But it's the airspeed where the P-51H really shines. The guns are what make the ME-209 shine. The ME-209 has one centralized hub cannon, a 30mm long-distance cannon. Boop. And then you have two synchronized 20mm cannons here. So this is more of a... We think of it as a high damage output plane, but the reality of it is the damage difference, actually cumulative damage on the P-51H is higher. Then you look at something like the P-80A, which is something that I was comparing it to in-game. It's actually even a little bit higher. And so the damage output that you're going to be having on the ME-209A is actually not all that good in a close engagement. Where the ME-209A shines is going to be the long-distance engagement. Take that 30mm cannon that can shoot out to 1,000 meters away, 3,300 feet, and take advantage of that. If you're not taking advantage of your long-distance snipes, you're not going to enjoy the ME-209A very much. But where the P-51H really exceeds is going to be just its ability to go fast as hell. And that can't be understated. Now keep in mind, again, I've got ultimate equipment on here. I've specialized this plane. So I've got the airspeed and the maneuverability significantly bumped up. I'll say hi to Eagle in just a second. But that being said, even before I did that, even before specialization came out, this plane really shined when it came to speed. I really was surprised by its maneuverability, especially with everything that came before it, and its abilities to actually maneuver a little bit more than the P-51A and the P-51D could before it. So I like the P-51H. Obviously, I like it enough to specialize it. I don't have all my planes in the game specialized by any means. But I must really like it since I just upgraded the equipment to ultimate equipment. I've liked it every step of the way, to be honest. But now that it's specialized and ultimate equipment, it really does shine. I really do feel like I could do a little bit of everything. So let me talk about my pilot setup here. So you might say to yourself, well, this is kind of weird. You've got 50 cal machine guns. Why are you all in on Marksman 1 and Marksman 2? Well, the reason being is because of the setup of where the guns are. The guns on the P-51H being on the wings, honestly, up close, they really don't hit everything that you want them to hit. The crossover, that the best distance for actually hitting the target is going to be 1,200 feet out and beyond, probably even farther than that, like 1,600 feet. So if they're up close, you're going to be missing a lot of your shots just because your wing-mounted guns are going to be out to the sides of the plane that's right in front of you. However, having Marksman 2 reduces the dispersion, but also helps the accuracy when firing at maneuvering targets. Obviously, if a target's right in front of you, it's maneuvering. So I've gone with Marksman 2 on this plane, and I wasn't sure if that was the right step to do, but I have definitely noticed an uptick in my ability to actually kill targets or set targets on fire that are right in front of me. Beyond that, I've gone with both Aerodynamics and Aerobatics Expert. Aerodynamics Expert is a necessity on this plane, in my opinion, because no matter what, you're either setting it up for speed or you're setting it up for maneuverability, and Aerodynamics Expert helps in both. I've done a balanced build, and again, Aerodynamics Expert is going to help on all of that. And Aerobatics Expert, just a little bit more maneuverability is always a good thing. Keep in mind, not upgrades, keep in mind you don't have a forward-firing weapon equipment slot on here. All your equipment slot is based on your airframe and engine, which means your Aerobatics Expert is going to have the most impact on a plane like this. A plane that has 4 combined equipment slots between airframe and engine is going to get the biggest bang for your buck out of Aerodynamics Expert, because none of these are reinforced skin. It's not reinforced airframe. None of these are based on armor. All these are based on speed and maneuverability. So you've got 4 of these times 40%. It's a significantly huge impact. If one of them was on forward-firing weapon, you'd still have 3, which would still be really, really good. Having 4 boosted by Aerodynamics Expert is huge. I can't understate that. How big of a difference having 4 equipment slots with Aerodynamics Expert, how big of a difference that makes on your impact. I've also, again, gone all in on speed. I don't even have a manual engine restart here. I've put improved mixture control. I don't get my engine knocked out all that often, knock on wood. And on top of that, having increased speed can help you just, avoid taking those hits in the first place, right? I've been able to outrun fighters that tried to chase me down just because I've had my pneumatic control, my engine cooling ready to go. Hold on to that, and you can very often boost away from a lot of the fighters that are out there, even things like vampires and P-80As. If you catch them at the right time. I don't want to make it sound like you're going to always boost away from them. But what you can do is you also got pneumatic control assist. Put your pneumatic control assist on here. Save that for when you're stuck and you can't get away from somebody and you need to outturn them. You can use pneumatic control assist and significantly help your turn time in this plane. And so all that combined, all this airframe and engine shenanigans here, makes for a really well balanced plane. Yeah, the guns can be fickle, but I think the way that the rest of the plane works helps overcome that. On top of that, something that I haven't mentioned yet, and shame on me for not mentioning it, is something this plane has overall. It's got 12 seconds of boost. An ME-209 has 9 seconds. A P-80A has 8 seconds. 12 seconds is 50% more boost. That honestly, truly, no joke, is significant. If you've got 12 seconds, and let's just say you've got the 12 seconds, you can stick with a 262 for 12 seconds because your speed is gonna be able to keep you with a 262, especially if he's not using his boost. Your guns typically knock out the engine at a 262, and then he's in real trouble, right? Talking against bots, not against humans. Humans obviously are going to throw everything out of whack, but you're still going to be a significant pain in the ass to human 262s and things of that nature as well. So, is this plane the best plane at Tier 8, the best altitude fighter? Not in every situation. But you can't go wrong between this and the ME-209. Two slightly different planes. But the P-51H, I think, is the better balanced airframe. Your better airspeed, just really, it can't be understated. I'm sure I haven't understated it yet, but it can't be understated just how much the airspeed on this plane really puts it to another level, and really sets you up for success. So I hope you enjoyed this particular video. I will. Nobody actually requested this. We were just talking about it. Like I said, we were talking about it in my Discord, and I figured, it's a good time to post a video on it. So I hope you enjoy it. If you've got any requests, feel free to hop into my Discord, put the requests in there. I've got quite a list I'm going to be working on in the upcoming weeks. We'll be getting a lot of videos out and we'll be going from there. So otherwise, I hope you have a great day, and thank you so much for joining me. Bye.